Alright people, today is the day where I make the movie that so many of you have requested for me to do, which is how you can help yourself with low back pain or pain in the back generally. So I'm gonna try to achieve to give you all the knowledge that I have accumulated over 16 years of helping athletes and clients with pain and performance. We will look at the anatomical structures in the back so we understand how it functions, and also what is the most usual thing that happens in your back when you get this acute low back pain. And then I'm going to teach you and give you some specific exercises that I think is really good in the more acute phase, and then I'm going to follow you along all the way to exercises which helps you with performance in the end of this time lapse of having pain in your lower back. Alright, so if we'll jump into the anatomical structures and the functional information that I think is the most important thing that you need regarding low back pain. We'll start with working ourselves around the columna, which is your spine. So your spine, which you hopefully see here, is formed a little bit like a S form. And it's sustained and it's built upon small bones called vertebrae. So we have 32 bones called vertebrae, which are piled upon each other all the way from our neck down to our lower spine. And in between every vertebra we have something called disc, intervertebral discs. And on the back side of every vertebra we have two so-called facet joints. And these are angled in different angles depending on where we are in the back or in the columna. And if we imagine that I take away 2 or 3 of these spinusus, we can see the yellow parts here, which is trying to resemble our spinal cord. And the spinal cord is the pathway and the highway where you send information from the brain down and out via your nervous system to control your body and activate it, and also get afferents and efferents information up to your brain regarding a joint's position or your organs situation, where they are in digesting your food. All the information that you need to keep hunting and running and sleeping and surviving gets into your brain via the nervous system and the spinal cord. So these structures is the basics that I think that you should have. The vertebra, the discs, the facet joints, and also the nervous system itself. Jumping forward now to the function of our torso and our core, as many people used to say core. I will teach you today what it actually is and what we're talking about, and why it's important to have a contact with your core, and how to find your core and have a contact with it. So the core, we can say, is this region here, which we can look at as a house. So the floor of your core is your pelvic floor. And the pelvic floor is this area down here, where you have the muscles that hold our intestines up and in. Especially up because of the pelvic floor that we're talking about right now. So that's the floor. And then we have the walls all around here. And one interesting muscle we have is the transversus abdominis. And this muscle, I think, is a bit interesting because it has some attachments from bone to bone, which I taught you before, that is interesting when we're talking about movement. But this muscle doesn't really have that. It has some attachments here, but it leaps around and meets itself on the other side. So when you contract it, it doesn't really make any movements in your body. It actually just increases or decreases the intra-abdominal pressure in your abdomen. Okay? And then we have the roof, which is our diaphragma. And the diaphragma should move slowly and controlled all the time to give you oxygen, to keep your cells going, which is life. Okay? So we have the floor, we have the walls, and we have the roof. And when we get pain in the lower spine, these parts here, we usually get some type of irritation or bulging of one of the discs. And the most usual one is L5, between L5 and S1, this disc here. And of course the other ones in the higher regions also. So what happens is that you get too much load on one of the discs and the disc bulges out. So it protrudes and pushes on structures that our brain and our nervous system tells us is really haunting our ability to keep on running from the animal that is hunting you, if you understand what I mean. So if it's bulging back posterolaterally on one of the nerves or the nerve root that gives you information about your leg or gives the leg information about running, if that is one of the things that we're talking about now, then it's really in the zone where it's dangerous for you to have this situation. So your body will react by having some cramp state where you increase the contraction of all the muscles around your back, your glutes, your latissimus dorsi, your rectus abdominis, all of the muscles that have with these parts to do. It will contract really hard to be able to not make it worse. Okay, so hopefully understand that if it contracts really hard around the region, it will try to save what could be saved. So that is really good in this situation, and we should be thankful if we're getting hunted by a bear or something that is wanting to eat us. But usually that's not the situation. The situation usually is we're changing tires on the car, or we're putting dishes in the dishwasher, and we get this extreme fast pain, and you have this cramp reaction all around your torso and your lower back. And usually it shoots down pain in your butt and the back of your leg. And the simple reason for this is wherever the disc is pushing, it will affect that area that the nerve roots or the nerves are innervating. Okay. So with that said, we're going to look at the exercises that you should do in an acute situation when you get the pain, and also in the mid-acute, we can say, and then exercises that you should keep on doing all the way up to when you're performing in the sport or in the things you love to do in life. The first exercise that you should do when you get this acute low back pain is try to increase the local core muscle activity, which we've seen in plenty of studies that they decreases and the low global core muscles increases. So as I taught you, is that all of the big muscles have like a cramp reaction, and are having a extreme contraction to save what could be saved, so you can run away from the bear. But this is not the situation in many of the cases when you get this pain. So what we should do is to increase the local core muscles, which are the core muscles that are closer to all of the segments and helping us being more functional and helping the movement be of more higher precision. So the first exercise is, I call it core level 1. And remember, the name of the exercise is extremely uninteresting. The most interesting part is you knowing why you're doing it and how you're going to do it, so you know what the effects and the goal of the exercise in mind is. Anyways, you're lying down on your back. You're having your knees bent a little bit. I'm going to show you in a clip shortly. And you're going to find your pelvic floor to begin with. So what you're doing is that you are thinking that you are stopping to pee. So think of that you're peeing and stopping the pee action. And what you should feel is the pelvic floor lifting a little bit. Okay, so when you found this, then you're going to start to try and find it and hold it for 5 seconds up to 10-15% of your maximum contraction. So that is pretty low. And the aim is to hold this percentage all the time for 5 seconds and then slowly relieve it and release it. So find your pelvic floor, hold it for 5 seconds with 10% of your maximum, and then slowly drop it off and let it relax. Then find your transversus abdominis, the muscle that didn't do any movements specifically. It's more of a core controller, so it increases the abdominal pressure and releases it, if we have a sloppy way of telling what it does, because it's much cooler than that, but we can say that now. And how to find this muscle then? Well, you're lying down as the same thing, and then you're pulling your navel, your stomach, you're pulling it slowly in, and you can actually feel it with your fingers that it's getting a little bit harder around your courgettes, around your abdoms, around your stomach. And the same thing here, you're increasing to 10-15%, holding it for 5 seconds and then releasing it slowly. When you find this and when you have a better control of it, the main exercise, the core level 1, which I'm talking to you about now, is to hold your pelvic floor, hold your transversus abdominis, 10-15% of your maximum for 5 seconds, and keep breathing with your roof, which I've already taught you what that is, your diaphragm. So the roof should be moving slowly and controlled at all times and giving you oxygen to your system and your cells. So priority number 1, core. Priority number 2, breathing. Hold it for 5 seconds and then slowly relax. Do this exercise about 3 to 5 times per day without pain. That's really important. And do it about 5 to 10, maybe 15, up with this spectrum of repetitions, all of them without pain. So the aim is to find the muscles again and wake them up a little bit and have them being more controlled. And this is, in the end, is also really connected to performance and having a powerful core and controlled core. Yeah, so look at the movie that I'm putting in right now. Okay, so the first exercise, core level 1. You're lying down, as you see here. You're finding your pelvic floor, like I taught you. Think that you stop peeing. Hold it for 5 seconds. Good. And then you find your transversus abdominis by thinking that you're pulling your stomach into the center of you or pulling your navel down to the floor. So pull it slowly. Hold the contraction to about 10-15%, and after 5 seconds, release it. So let's do that again. You find your pelvic floor, 10-15%. Good. And then you find your transversus abdominis, pull your navel in, hold both of them up to 10-15%. And then remember, use your diaphragm by breathing all the time. So hold the contraction, hold the breathing for 5 seconds, and then slowly, slowly release it. So we'll do it again. Lie down, find your pelvic floor, 10-15% of maximum, good. Find your transversus abdominis, pulling your navel down slowly and contracting it slowly, 10-15%, great. And then don't forget to breathe all the time. Hold this for 5 seconds and then do it over again. Okay, so that was exercise number 1, which is core level 1. Core level 2 is 2 exercises. The first one is pretty similar to the one you've just done and learned. And you're lying down at the same position, finding priority number 1, which is pelvic floor and transversus abdominis, and also breathing, which is priority number 2. And now to priority number 3, which is new for this exercise, is to integrate movement with your arms and legs slowly and controlled while holding priority number 1 and priority number 2. Okay, so if you lose one of the first 2 priorities, you can stop doing the exercise. You're not going to gain anything from it. You need to hold priority number 1 and then 2 and 3, and don't lose any of them. Keep them working all the time. So look at the clip here. All right, so now onwards to core level 2. You're doing the same thing here. You're finding your pelvic floor. You're finding your transversus abdominis, holding it, priority number 1 and priority number 2, which I'm showing here, which is breathing. And priority number 3, moving your arms and legs, your extremities, slowly from the center of mass, slowly from the center of your torso, while keeping priorities number 1, 2. That's extremely important. And then moving the other side, coming slowly out and slowly back. Keeping priority number 1 and 2, breathing and your core control, and priority number 3 will be moving your arms diagonally from the center of your mass. All right, good. Great. And also connected to core level 2 is that you move yourself from lying on your back to standing quadruped on your knees and your hands. So I'm going to show you that also, but it's the same thing. Priority number 1 is holding your core, 10-15%. Priority number 2 is breathing, getting oxygen all the time and using your diaphragm. And priority number 3 is lifting your arms and legs slowly and trying to stop and hold it in the top for about 5 seconds. So I'm going to show you in the clip here. Exercise I call the dog, where you're standing quadruped like this, finding a somewhat neutral position in your columna, in your spine, finding your pelvic floor, good, controlling your transversus abdominis, holding both of them to about 10-15% as I taught you, then keep on breathing, and now to priority number 3, lifting your arm and your leg diagonally like this, holding for about 5 seconds, and then going slowly down again. Lifting slowly and control without compromising on your position of your spine, and then slowly coming back down again. Priority number 1, core, 2, breathing, 3, doing the movement with your extremities. Slowly and controlled. And when you get the hang of this, and this feels stable and controlled, and you're not dropping in the contraction of your core muscles, and you're holding it steady about 10-15%, then you can go up to another level within this exercise, actually, where you make the exercise more unstable and harder to do. So you stand more on a line, which I am showing here, and then
keeping priority number 1 and 2 and 3, which is this movement. As you can see, I'm struggling to hold my balance here, and I'm putting more pressure in my joints, my shoulder joint and my hip joint, to keep the balance. So this is a level up within this exercise, keeping them tighter together on a line.
All right, so the exercise that I've just shown you is aimed to wake up the local core muscles, and now I'm going to show you exercises, or actually stretches, to decrease the global core activity of the big muscles. And one of the best aims we have to do is to relax this area via stretching your gluteus maximus and your latissimus dorsi. And the reason for this is that when we get pain here, you contract, without knowing, you contract your latissimus dorsi on this side and the contralateral side, gluteus maximus. And this, what this does is that both of them pull extremely hard on a structure called the thoracolumbar fascia. And it's a thick fascia, thick tissue that is lying like a plate on your lower spine. And that increases the compression and the traction, the compression of this area, and makes it stiff, like I've taught you before. And this is good when we're running from the tiger and the bear, but that's usually not the situation. So we're going to try to lower this effect, lower the effect of signals getting up that is telling us that something is really dangerous and we need to just run or fight or hide. By stretching these to relieve the tension in this area, and then getting less pain signals, and also being more movable and more calm in the area. So look at the stretches.
So the first stretch I'm going to show you is a stretch for the gluteus maximus, where you sit, you grab your knee, you try to lift your chest up and pull your knee to the other side shoulder, like I'm doing here. But I think I rather like this stretch better, because I can relax more and tune in to the stretch better. So I'm lying on my leg. So I'm trying to put my right leg closer to my left shoulder, as you see in this angle here, and then just add pressure on it. You should feel the stretch in your glute. Now on to the latissimus dorsi stretch. So what you're doing is that you're holding on to something stable with a pronation like this, and I'm tilting my pelvis to the opposite side, and then shooting or shoving my shoulders to the same side. So I'm going to show you again. Let's see here. Hanging back, tilting my pelvis to this side, to our side like that, and then let's do that again. So hanging back, tilting your pelvis to our side because it's the opposite side of the one you're trying to stretch, and then shoot your shoulders to the same side that you want to stretch. Then you're going to feel a good stretch of your latissimus dorsi.
Okay, and now I'm going to show you a MCKENZIE exercise, which is an exercise focusing on relieving the pressure on the disc, so doing a traction with the vertebrae coming from each other, and also trying to proceed in a extension and a bending backwards, actually, of your lumbar spine. And what this could help with is making the bulging disc slip in again and not push as hard on the structures that are giving you this signal of something being really bad in your lower back. So and remember, all of this is like just one drop in the pool of fixing your body. So don't, but by just doing this exercise and you feel instant relief, which many people do, this is not the solution. This is just one way to keep on moving and keep on loading your body so you have a better future of being able to heal yourself, because you don't want to be still and you don't want to just run over the pain. So look at the McKenzie exercise.
Alright, so as I told you, the McKenzie exercise is made to create a sort of traction in between your vertebrae and make your disc find a better position so it doesn't aggravate the tissues. So you're lying down like I'm doing here, you're lifting yourself up and at the same time slowly pushing yourself forward. And it's important to really try to relax your stomach and let your pelvis just fall slowly and controlled down. Because if you have tension within this exercise, you're not going to get the effects that you want. And go slowly and controlled. You can lie even lower than this. You don't need to go as high. But if this is okay and you want more effect of it, and remember, you're not going to have pain doing this because then you're doing something counterproductive. So don't do that. But if it's pain-free, you can go higher up like this and try to just relax and let your pelvic girdle just hang down and be relaxed. That's the McKenzie.
All right, and then last but not least, I think, and I have seen that it's really effective to also work with motor control by just controlling your pelvic. So I'm going to show you a exercise where you try to do a posterior tilt of your whole pelvis like this, and then a anterior tilt of your pelvis like that. So look at the movie, and the aim of the exercise is, of course, to do movements slowly and controlled with the local core muscles instead of the big global core, fast, strong muscles without pain. So try to do them with as little pain as possible, or preferably without pain, okay? Look at the exercise.
Okay, so motor control and pelvic tilt. So I'm sitting down and I am aiming to do a anterior tilt like this and then a posterior tilt like that. And you're going to try to do it as slowly as possible and as controlled as possible without pain. So what you're not going to want to do is do it too fast and sloppy like this. And when you have pain and poor control, this is one thing that I usually see with my athletes and clients and patients. So do it slowly and controlled forward without pain, and then slowly and controlled backwards. That's it. Great.
Great. This is what I found with my 16 years of helping athletes and patients and clients with pain and performance, that is the center of what you generally should do when you have a painful situation, and especially pain coming from your discs protruding and pushing on structures that are telling us that something dangerous has happened that maybe isn't that dangerous. So integrate all of these exercises to your training schedule, also to the exercises and to the activities you do when you're loading your body, because the load, which is playing and training, is really important to not in the first hand even get these things. Because if you sit down and don't load yourself and then maybe stand up, you're gonna have pain because you're not used to loading it. So load it all the time, and remember that the aim is trying to not provoke it too much and not relieve it too much. Because if you relieve yourself too much, you're gonna have the path where it's gonna get worse, because it's not gonna get loaded and the body doesn't want to respond and react and meet the performance levels and demands put on it. And the same story goes for the other side of the pole is that if you load it too much and don't listen to the signals and just push through, you are gonna get a much more of a global activity and functional body, and your local core muscles will have nothing to do with the work, and you will get more pain, more structures getting worn and torn, and you will have less performance because you're not gonna have precision within your movement. All right, people, that's it for today. I hope you have gained some new knowledge regarding your lower spine and your core and all of this that I've taught you today. And hopefully you started to integrate this to yourself and your torso regarding you having pain or not, because in the end, this is performance and health. So don't forget to give it a thumbs up, subscribe to the channel so I can give you more information about yourself and your health and performance and training in the future. And please leave some comments in the comment below, so I know what you want to see more of in the future of. See you, bye!